The Philosophical Guide. What makes us, us? For millions of years, our ancestors were insignificant animals, just another species trying to survive, no more important than fireflies or jellyfish. We shared the planet with at least 6 other human species, and for most of history, we were not at the top of the food chain. In fact, we were somewhere in the middle. So how did we, Homo sapiens, go from being a scared creature in the middle of the savannah to the masters of the entire planet? How did we become the only human species left? In his monumental book, Sapiens, A Brief History of Humankind, historian Yuval Noah Harari takes us on a journey through her entire past to answer this single, profound question. The answer he finds is not about the size of our brains or the sharpness of our tools. It's about a secret superpower we discovered, the power of stories. Harari argues that 3 major revolutions shaped our history: the cognitive revolution, the agricultural revolution, and the scientific revolution. Together, they tell the epic and often unsettling story of how an insignificant ape became the ruler of the world.
The Philosophical Guide. Our story begins about 70,000 years ago with what Harari calls the cognitive revolution. This wasn't just when we developed bigger brains, it was when we developed a new kind of language. For the first time, we could speak about things that didn't actually exist. Think about it. A lion can warn another lion about a bison by the river, but it cannot tell another lion about the great lion spirit in the sky who will grant them endless bison in the afterlife. This ability to speak about fiction is our unique magic. It allowed us to create shared myths, stories about gods, nations, money, and laws. These are not objective realities. They are imagined realities that exist only in our collective imagination. Yet they are the most powerful forces in the world. You can't convince a chimpanzee to give you its banana by promising it infinite bananas in chimp heaven. But you can convince millions of humans to cooperate, build pyramids, and even die for a shared belief in a nation or a god they have never seen. This ability to cooperate flexibly in large numbers is what allowed sapiens to outcompete all other human species and conquer the globe. But then, around 12,000 years ago, we made a choice that would change everything. This was the agricultural revolution. We went from hunting and gathering to farming. On the surface, this sounds like a great leap forward, but Harari presents a chilling counter-argument. He calls the agricultural revolution history's biggest fraud. For the species as a whole, it was a success. Our population exploded, but for the individual, life became significantly harder. Farmers worked longer hours than foragers, their diets were less varied and less nutritious, and they were far more vulnerable to disease and famine. We didn't domesticate wheat, Harari argues, wheat domesticated us. Our bodies, evolved for climbing trees and chasing gazelles, were not built for a life of clearing rocks and carrying water buckets. We traded a life of relative freedom and variety for the promise of security, but ended up with a life of anxiety chained to a small plot of land. It was a luxury trap. Each generation took the new way of life for granted, and soon nobody could imagine living any other way. This new way of life led to complex societies, empires, writing, and money. And that set the stage for our third great transformation, the scientific revolution, which began just 500 years ago. For millennia, human cultures believed that all the important knowledge was already known, written in ancient texts, or handed down by the gods.
The great discovery that launched the scientific revolution was the discovery of ignorance. It was the willingness to say, "We don't know." This admission fueled a relentless quest for new knowledge through observation and experiment. This revolution gave us unprecedented power. It allowed us to build cities, travel to the moon, and double our lifespan. It has put us on the verge of overcoming natural selection itself, using genetic engineering and artificial intelligence to design new forms of life. The philosophical guide. So what is the thread that connects these three revolutions? It's our shared imagination. The cognitive revolution gave us the ability to create fictions. The agricultural revolution was built on the fiction of ownership and the future. And the scientific revolution is driven by the fiction of progress, funded by the imagined realities of corporations and nations. This brings us to Harari's most profound and challenging insight. The things we believe give our lives meaning. Our nations, our gods, our laws, our sense of justice are all stories. They are powerful stories, stories that allow billions of us to live together, but they are stories nonetheless. Understanding this doesn't mean that life is meaningless. It means we have a responsibility. The ultimate lesson from our 70,000-year history is this. We live in a world of our own making. The walls of our reality are not built of stone, but of stories. And because we are the authors of these stories, we have the power to change them. We have progressed from insignificant animals to self-made gods, but we are reckless gods. We have mastered our surroundings, but we have not mastered ourselves. We have never been more powerful, yet we seem more aimless than ever. And so, the history of Sapiens leaves us with one final urgent question. Now that we know we are the authors of our reality, what story will we choose to write next?